Hello and welcome to episode 13, lucky for some, unlucky for others, of the Project Bag podcast. My little podcast about making all the things, living a crafty life, not finishing anything, and general nonsense. My name's Gemma and I am so pleased to have you here joining me for a crafty chat this afternoon. To returning viewers, welcome back. Pull up a chair, grab your tea, grab your knitting, you know the drill, and hats off to you for coming back again. And to new viewers trying out the podcast for the first time, welcome, so lovely to meet you. Do pop along to the Ravelry group, won't you, and introduce yourself in there so we can all get to know you and get to know what you are making. I'm quite nosy, I like to know these things. I've come to the conclusion that the cows I'm running at the moment are actually nothing to do with me knitting anything and are more about me getting to see everything you're up to. Okay, a couple of notices at the top of the podcast. First of all, everywhere you can find me on the internet, everywhere you might want to find me on the internet, you can find listed just down below for you in the description box. That is also where eventually you will find show notes, but for the last few weeks, my plate of show notes, SPO notes, has not been spinning. It has been falling off my little stick and crashing to the ground. So thank you for your patience, people who like show notes, in waiting for that. I do try and link to everything I talk about. At least you've got the website addresses and the various people you might want to look to, and I also have everything just down in this little bar. It kind of zips across. There was one last week, I'm sure it was last week, where it just came across and there was nothing there. I have no idea. No, I watched it back because I do occasionally, just to, because people talk to me about it and say, oh, and when this, and you think, what did I say? And I saw it go across and I was just like, oh, why are you there? Why did I put you there? What are you there for? What are you trying to tell me? What was I trying to tell me? No idea. Where was I? Yeah, show notes, where you can find me, all down below. More importantly, I think you can probably guess what this next notice is. This next notice is going to be that I am extremely sleep deprived, slightly manic, and will probably treat you to the best part of an hour of rumbled mamblings. I said that wrong. Mumbled ramblings. Except for maybe not... What did I say? Okay, so as I was saying, can't promise any level of coherence here this evening. People who have been to the podcast before will be used to this by now, be used to the fact that I sometimes don't get my words in quite the right order or say exactly what I mean to say. New viewers, please bear with me. Hopefully we can still have some fun together this afternoon anyway. If you haven't got something to drink, then what are you sat down for already? Go and get something to drink, get something you love working on, snuggle up and let's have a crafty chat. Because I've got nothing to show you, so we might as well just chat. Okay, cow news. The cows are ongoing. There are 2 cows or craft alongs. They are in the Ravelry group and one of them is also in the Facebook club, Project Bag Club. So the Great Festive Cast On kicked off on the 1st of October, and the idea was that you use that as an opportunity to get started on all your festive makes. Could be for the home, could be gifts, could be for any celebration. You just have to explain to me why it counts as a festive creation. And that's for projects started on or after the 1st of October. Loving seeing some of your finished objects in the finished objects thread. I wish I could comment on them all. I was toying with the idea of pulling some out and showing you here for those people that aren't part of the group already. But I really want to get permission from people before I start doing that. And why do I need to do that? Go and join the group, see for yourself. There are some really, really lucky people. There'll be some very happy campers this festive season when they open the things that are coming their way. Wow. The other one we've got is the Crack Those Whips cow. Have you missed that sound? My husband just rolls his eyes at me now. The idea of that is that you crack the whip and crack your whips. Get as many of them off the needles. It came about because I was feeling quite overwhelmed when I came back from Perth. Not because Perth was a bad thing. Perth was amazing. As anyone who's watched this podcast for any amount of time will know, I am seriously all the love for Perth. It was the start of something fantastic for me, the start of amazing friendships, and yeah, it was great. But anyway, I was feeling kind of overwhelmed and I didn't really know what I wanted to work on. I had lots of whips. I wanted to join in the Perth cast on, which I don't know if that's finished or if we just are knitting until it's done. I'm not finished. It will come as no surprise to you to hear. And the idea was that I got some of the whips off the needles, and I thought start that on the 16th of September. Then on the 1st of October, 2 weeks later, hopefully I've got some stuff off the needles and I can start my festive crafting. I did get some bits off the needles, but promptly cast other things on. And so when it came to the 1st of October, I just couldn't face casting any Christmas or festive makes on. For me, it's Christmas makes. I know other people feel differently. So whatever you want to call it is absolutely great. Something that brings you a bit of joy in the winter. I just couldn't face it. So I haven't cast anything on and I have finished very few whips. There are some people who are just like machines in that thread. They've taken this and they've gone with it. There's a really beautiful hat. That's probably in the festive one now, not in the Crack the Whips one. There's a beautiful shawl that's just stunning. I know that Pip is working on a jumper and I can't remember the name of the pattern, but the colours are just to die for. It's so vibrant. It's such a celebration. Definitely, if you don't follow her on Instagram already, then, you know, pop over, have a look, or look at the hashtag. Put it down there for you again. Follow the hashtags and see what's coming up, because there are some really inspiring things. I'm not posting anything. Yeah, so that's kind of podcasty business. What else? Today, I did this thing yesterday morning. I woke up and I thought, I'm not going to have much to talk about in the podcast. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to worry about it, because whenever I say I'm not going to have much to talk about, I end up with far more than I need to talk about. So I thought it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I'd hope to have a couple of finished objects for you, but I don't. You had 2 last week, okay? So you can just wait a while. And I'd hoped to have some different crafts going on. I'd planned to do some baking. I'd planned to do some sewing. I'd planned to do some paper crafting ahead of the festive season, try and get some bits ready for Christmas. We're not really doing Christmas this year. We're not avoiding it, but we're having a much more pared back, toned down, low key version. This year my tree will not be up at the end of November. The last few years my tree has been up on the last weekend of November because I've hosted a Christmas crafternoon for Mind, the mental health charity, which I've loved doing, and it's always good fun and everyone seems to really enjoy themselves. We have such a giggle. I just wasn't feeling it this year. I'm taking a year off, so the tree will probably go up at the beginning of December, which I know most of you are probably thinking that's still too early. Do it on Christmas Eve, you strange person. But yeah, so I'm starting to think about that, but we're actually having my mother-in-law and her partner come to stay with us at Christmas. We've gone from wanting to just shut the doors, close the curtains, turn the lights off and tell the world to bugger off. Sorry if you find that word offensive, by the way. I'm not really a sweary person on the podcast, but there might be the odd. No, what I just did. So apologies if that offended you. I'll try and rein it in a bit. But we've got from that point to the point where actually we can start being a bit more open to the idea of having someone round and having family with us. So my mother-in-law and her partner are coming up and we're just going to have a nice calm Christmas, but I still want it to be lovely. So I'm starting to think about that and I plan to do all of those things. You will notice that I'm using the past perfect tense. It's done. I had planned, but the best laid plans are mice and men and Gemma's gang after glay, as Robert Burns kind of said. Yeah, I've made wonderful grand plans and I've not seen any of them through. Life has happened in a big way and time has happened and other things have happened, and I've had a really lovely week since I last spoke to you. Lots of wonderful things have happened, but it's just not left much time for actual making and finishing of things and for seeing plans through. And I was feeling a little bit anxious about that this morning, and then I thought, nah, whatever. Why do I enjoy podcasting? I enjoy podcasting because I love the sense of conversation that I'm getting with you guys. It's amazing. And I just want to share some really lovely things that have happened in the crafty world, in the crafty community. I've got some lovely things to share with you and find out how you guys are doing and what's going on. That's why I like podcasting. So it's not so much about me showing off finished objects and things like that. Well, just as well, because I never really have any, do I? Yeah, right, I suppose we better get started. I will show you a whip. I've got a whip to show you. Let me just do this. People who are in the Project Bag Club will know that this week I've tried something a bit different to get the conversation going a bit more. So I've got daily conversation prompts. And, sorry, I'm leaning off camera because I'm using my teapot. I love this teapot. I've got a feeling I bought it off eBay many years ago when I was first learning how to use the internet, and I'm really pleased with it. I love roses. They're my favourite flower, next to snowdrops now, because snowdrops came into bloom at a very special weekend this year. Yeah, I really like it, and I shared a picture of this teapot and tea strainer and this cup that I'm about to share with you. This morning, because I was asking about weekend plans on the conversation prompt, and I'd taken a picture last year of my craft table with my cup of tea, and I've been thinking about it all day, and I thought, well, why shouldn't I get the china out and just treat myself? I'm going to sit down and have a really lovely chat with my wonderful viewers this afternoon, so that'll be nice. Why is it off camera? Well, couldn't find my milk jug, so I've got this beautiful teapot, this beautiful china cup and saucer that I'm about to show you, and the milk. Keeping it real here, guys, keeping it real. You know, I desperately need to wash my hair. I've got so much housework to do behind the camera. Actually, this room isn't too bad. I blitzed it the other night, but yeah, that's for keeping it real. So some milk. I am drinking, I treated myself to this today, Tesco's finest rich and malty Assam loose leaf tea. It cost me £1.50, so not particularly expensive. I've just put 1 tablespoon in my kind of teapot for one. And I'm quite looking forward to seeing how it tastes. I've not had any before. What I will say is I'm definitely going to get leaves in this tea. I can see them kind of floating around because actually it's really fine, and my tea strainer, and my mum's going to be shouting at the screen at this point, you mean mini sieve? I didn't know what tea strainers were, okay? And we went to, I think it was the Range, and I think it was the first time I'd ever been there. Well, it can't have been the Range, it must have been some factory shop we went to. And I went, oh, look, a mini sieve, how cute. And my mum just cracked up laughing. She's like, Gemma, that's a tea strainer. So what for? Uncouth woman. So yeah, my mini sieve. And come on, it does look like a sieve, doesn't it? Really? But these bits of tea leaf are quite fine. I noticed as I put them into the teapot for that. So let's see. It smells really good. It smells like a proper cup of tea. Here's my teacup. I'll turn it around. This was part of a set that I got from my 30th birthday from Lara's godmother, who was, she's like forever elevated to that status as Lara's godmother now. She's not just my friend. That's quite nice. I'm wondering if I should have put another tablespoon in. You don't want these things to be too strong. It's not bitter. It's a really easy drinker, to be honest with you. It's quite smooth. But yeah, there we are. There's my cup of tea that I will be enjoying with you. Yeah. So let's crack on with works in progress, because I have no finished objects. I've worked a bit on that cross stitch that I showed you last time, but there's not really enough of a difference to warrant really showing it and talking about it. The main project that's seen the most work this week has been my boxy sweater, which is for the same godmother that, did I say Laura's godmother or Laura's mother-in-law? Laura doesn't have a mother-in-law. Laura has godmothers. She has 4 absolutely amazing godmothers. But anywho, so this is for her. It's coming up. Now, I've got this weird thing where on my screen that I'm looking at, my camera, because I'm using my phone facing me in selfie mode, because I know what that is. This always looks kind of quite red and almost violently coloured. But actually then when I put it onto the laptop and edit the video, it comes out more muted. It is quite muted, but this is almost looking like black and red camo, isn't it? Well, to me it's looking like black and red camo, I'll have to see. But it's much more muted, it's much more pinky. I wonder if hang on. We've had this before, haven't we? That's a bit better. Not much better, it's a bit better. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have some works in progress photos on my Ravelry page. I am starting to get the hang of Ravelry now and doing that slowly. So yeah, as you can see, I am not at the 17 inches required before separating for the sleeves. I've done probably about 10 or 11 inches, so I'm not too far off. And yeah, I've basically just been picking this up as and when. Now, last time I asked, or it might have been the time before, I asked about seam. I'm going to put that light back on. Hi. Last time I asked about seaming, or not seaming, having a seam, a visible seam on your circular knitting. And I don't know what I was thinking. It's a bit daft really. I was worried that I was doing something wrong because I couldn't see a seam at the start of my knitting. Now if I find the join, right, so if you look at that bit, there's not really a visible seam, is there? But then as you go further up, you can clearly see there's a seam there. Now I was worried because I wasn't getting a seam initially. That was worrying me. I thought I was doing something wrong, and then I realised actually the thing I've heard about seaming a lot on podcasts at the moment, or having a seam effect in the round when you are alternating skeins, which means you knit from 2 skeins at a time, and every couple of rows you swap, so you're knitting with the other skein. You don't cut the yarn, you just carry on. So for people who are new to that, you do it with hand-dyed yarns predominantly because of the way in which it works. You end up with more concentration of colour in one part of the yarn than the other, and it can give you pooling, which you might have seen in my sweater that's for my grandma, my Drops design sweater. It almost looks like it's got stripes and it's got these big flashes of colour. And you don't really want that. You want it to stay quite variegated. I mean, there's some evidence of pooling here, but I have alternated every couple of rows, so I'm not entirely sure why that's happened. Yeah, so that's why you do it. And you don't, as I say, you don't cut the yarn, you drop it, pick up the next yarn, and you carry on knitting. And so people said to me, oh, look up helical knitting. And the problem I had was I didn't actually have time to watch the videos and download the tutorials and things this week. I was trying to do it while I was watching something with my husband. I can't for the life of me remember what we were watching now, so it must have been brilliant. And it just didn't work because I wasn't able to listen. But I did find a tutorial a bit later, and I realised that actually what I'd already been doing, I don't think it was helical knitting that I found the tutorial for, but what I'd been doing didn't provide me with a seam. So I mean, if this is helical knitting, then fair enough. You know, I wonder if I can get to, I don't know if I can, right, but here we are. Here's my kind of seam, and you can see where I've changed things up a bit. See there? That's where I've started doing it. And what happens is when I get to the beginning of the round where that yarn is, I'm going to drop the yarn I'm using and go under to pick that one up. And so it kind of catches it and wraps it. That's what's happening. It's come from underneath and caught it and wrapped it. And that is actually not giving me a seam again. You see there's no seam there at all, no jolt, no line. I really like that. I will try and find the tutorial that I used and I'll link to it down below, and if I can remember I'll put it here, but I might not. I think I'm on ease off on the flashy purple bits a little bit because it just gets a little bit overwhelming sometimes. Okay, I took a tip from Amy of the Stranded Dye Works podcast, or Stranded podcast, who's the dye behind Stranded Dye Works, as I'm sure you all know. She said she had trouble with her flippy bottom with her first boxy. She's actually onto her second boxy at the moment, and I think is plotting a third. And when she started her current boxy, I'd already planned mine. She mentioned on her podcast that she decided to knit the ribbing flat and then join to knit in the round, and that would help. So I've got a little bit of a seam here to do, because I thought, well, I'm just going to take your word for it. You've done this before. You're a very clever girl, and I'm going to try and take your advice, and then hopefully it won't happen to me and I won't have to worry about it. Having said that, I'm still flipping. I wasn't flipping, interestingly. My bottom was not flippy until I got kind of halfway up, and then it randomly started flipping up. So I'm not sure if it's just how it's been shoved into the bag, or if I am going to have issues with a flippy bottom. Which seems to be a bit of a theme, because if you remember last week, I have a flippy bottom there as well. So that's boxy. It is a very popular pattern by Joji Locatelli. I am doing the worsted or Aran weight version. I wasn't convinced last time that actually what I was knitting with was worsted, but I was hanging out with Mana this Thursday, lovely face behind, I'm going to say this wrong, and Kate and Berg, which is coming down here. I was hanging out with her, and she whipped off this, she's got one of these ruler leather bracelet things, and just proceeded to wrap it, and it came out as 10 wraps per inch, I think it was, or 8 wraps. I can't remember. Whatever it was, it worked out as being worsted weight, so that relaxed me a bit. I'm doing it on bigger needles than the pattern calls for, but I'm still getting quite a good fabric there. So I've got another few inches to go. I'm doing the first size. My friend is going to be, when I gift this to her, 8.5 months pregnant, but I am not worried because there is 30 inches of positive ease. See what I mean? It's huge. So it will look fine over the bump and hopefully be really cozy and not too hot, because it's quite a fine, you can kind of see me through it, I think, fine fabrics. I've done it on such large needles, so it'll breathe. And also it'll look really flattering when she is post bump, when little one has arrived, which is very exciting. So there we are. That's it for whips. That's all I've worked on this week. I've been really monogamous. Hey, I did it. I've been that. I'm not saying again, I'm certainly not pushing my luck this week with that, thinking I really need to get it done for her birthday, which is the beginning of December, so I am running quite short of time. And I haven't had a lot of crafting time, and actually in the evenings I found myself being quite tired and just not wanting to pick it up. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever get like that, where you just want to sit? Want to sit and chill and can't even be bothered to pick up your boxy. The lion's share of the work I've done on my boxy has actually been done at knitting groups. Having said that, I had an epic fail this week and managed to get to knitting with no knitting. So those of you who follow me on Instagram will have seen that I actually got to try something new this week. I'm going to talk about it a little bit here. I got to try knitting on 9-inch circulars, which I have not done. I use two circular needles for my sock knitting, and I have half the stitches on one of the circular needles and half on the other, and then I just flip round, and yeah, I find that easier. It can get a little bit annoying having points and cables sort of wanging around willy-nilly when you're knitting. When the sock gets long enough, I start to stab the points I'm not using back into the work, if it's not too fine a fabric, and it won't sort of poke an obvious hole. Yeah, but 9-inch circulars were new to me, and I felt like Goliath. You know, I felt like Gulliver who'd landed in Lilliput trying to knit with these tiny 9-inch circulars. It was so bizarre because there's, I mean, oops, the tips are sort of about that long, which that's really short. So there's not a lot to hold on to, and I was kind of like knitting like that. It was really awkward. It took me most of the evening to do 3 rounds, and then because she had 3 rounds to do, and then she was decreasing for the toes. But you know, I got on okay in the end. I got used to it. I did stab holes in my finger again because they were quite sharp. I think they were addies, and just trying to force it through where I didn't have the actual tip to hold on to. But the other thing I got to try out were the Arne and Carlos Regia Perfect socks. The idea is that you get this one ball of sock yarn and it knits the perfect pair of socks. So it's top down, I think. Pretty certain you have to do it top down. Certainly this is how Myra was knitting. And you do a certain number of rows and that's the rib, and then the colour changes and you do your what's that bit? Leg. You do the leg. And then yeah, the colour changes all the way down. I must admit I was so tired on Wednesday at knit night that I wasn't paying any attention to the colour changes, so I can't tell you about it. What I can tell you is, unlike most commercial sock yarns, I actually quite enjoyed handling it. I found West Yorkshire spinners to be quite rustic. I didn't enjoy the feel of it. I really don't like Serdar Heart and Soul. These are my opinions. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily the right ones. Some people will love using them. And you know I don't mind commercial yarn at all. I really like using commercial yarn. I have a lot of it. And I think there is a place for it. But personally, I do not enjoy working with them. I didn't like the fabric I got on my West Yorkshire Spinners Mojito socks. I found that quite disappointing. And I don't like using Heart and Soul. But this was the first Regia I had used. I'm pretty certain it's Regia. Hopefully I've got that right. And it's definitely the first of this Arne and Carlos Perfect colourway. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed using it. I'm not going to get any, and I'll come to why in just a moment. So that's what I've worked on this week. Let's move on to stash enhancement. Okay, so the podcast is going to be in kind of different sections to normal. We've had the admin at the beginning and then a little bit on whips. No FOs. I'm kind of going to be blending the chattery bit at the end with everything else now. I was thinking about writing a show outline for this week because I had so many ideas in my head, so many things that I could talk about, and wanted to kind of give them some sort of coherence and structure. But I was thinking to myself, actually, I really don't want to. I just want to grab my tea and cuddle up in the corner and chat with people and, you know, have a crafty chat. But it makes sense to talk about acquisitions because there have been some, and then it kind of leads me on to a lot of other things that I've been thinking about this week. I should actually probably tell you what I'm wearing. It's all about the layers this week. So the first thing here, and I'm wearing it like some old spinster, but I really don't care, is a gorgeous, huge, can you see how huge that is? This is attractive. If YouTube recommends this for my still shot at the beginning, because like, who has time to line up perfect flat lays? Certainly not me. I admire the people who do, they look wonderful, but no, I'll just go with the thumbnails from YouTube. As I was saying, if YouTube recommends this, then God help me. No one will watch it. No one will watch it. Please still watch me. Don't let me talk to myself. But yeah, it's pretty huge, and it is a cowl, and I love it because it's really wide. That's how wide it is. And you can wear it in so many different ways. So at the moment I've got it kind of looped over me and crossed over like a bit like a shawl, but it comes quite a way down my back as well. If I can show you. You see it comes quite a way down. Definitely, as my grandma would say, it definitely keeps my kidneys warm. Oh, sorry, gratuitous chest shot there for you viewers. How's that to spice up your evening? It's been crochet today. If I podcast on a Friday from now on, I'm going to be in a silly mood because, as I said to you last week, those ladies, it's a riot. They're an absolute riot. I love working with them. Yeah, so that's how I'm wearing it at the minute. You can wrap it round a couple of times and wear it as more of a cowl. It is a commercial yarn. It is King Cole Opium. I think I might have talked about this before on a very early podcast. I can't remember. And it's kind of this thick, thin thing. You do it on quite big needles and it's just nice. I like the texture. It comes in various colours and it's got patterns designed specifically for the yarn. But yeah, I find it nice and snuggly. And then underneath that, I just have, I'm sorry, it's a shop bought jumper. These things happen sometimes, don't they? But I really like it. I got it last Christmas when I needed warm clothes. Nothing was fitting. Because I'd gained so much weight while I've been off with depression. Picked this up in Matalan and I love it. It's just a raglan, I think so. Yeah, it's a raglan shaped sweater in grey, which isn't normally a colour I go for. It is very big and baggy and cosy. I mean, obviously it wasn't big and baggy, but I just love wearing it. And it's, I should stop talking while I'm doing the up down thing, shouldn't I? And then do a nice cut and it should all transition smoothly. But what's the point when my words don't even transition smoothly? This morning, I don't know what I did, but I was talking to my crochet ladies and I submitted a whine for a word. It had nothing to do with beverages at all. So that's what I'm wearing. I'm not going to put that cowl thing back on now because it's a bit of a faff. And I can't be bothered, and I want to try and streamline the editing process because that's not what I'm here for. Yeah, so acquisitions. There have been some acquisitions. There's been some stash enhancement. There has been some to the point that I can't actually close the boxes on my stash boxes. The boxes on my stash, but the lids on my stash boxes anymore. Yeah. Let's start with my love knitting order, shall we? Okay, so I have had a huge order come through from Love Knitting, and that does not count for this because that's for my crochet course and my beginner's knitting course. So that's fine, that's work. But I saw someone that I follow and someone who follows me had put a picture of a sweater on her Instagram and has asked if anyone would be willing to crochet it for her little girl for the yarn and payment for time. Now, I don't do commissions. I don't do them because I do not have time. I enjoy crafting and I want to continue enjoying crafting. A couple of years ago, I did make and sell crochet blankets and teddy bears and bits for babies, and it became a chore for me. And what was actually something that really allowed me to relax and unwind and just feel a bit more like me started to become more of a job. So there's two reasons there. One, I want it to stay pleasurable, and two, time and pressure commitments. But she said this, and actually I really, really want to crochet more garments. And I looked at it and it looked like such fun. And it's a child's thing, so it's not going to be too big, so I won't get too bored. And so I dropped her a message and I said, you know what, I don't do commissions, but actually I quite happily do this for you. If you're happy for me to talk about it on the podcast, thinking of you guys. And that's great. And she said, okay, thank you, let me know how much it will be. As I said, I don't do commissions, so what I've decided to do is to kind of waive any fee that I might charge, and instead this lovely lady is making a donation to Lara's legacy, which that's wonderful. That's really kind of her. I haven't asked for a specific amount, just whatever she feels is right, that's what she's going to do. That's great. So I don't do commissions, but it did mean that I get to go yarn shopping, and look at those colours. Now, she actually specified Starcraft Special because her daughter's quite hard on her clothes during playtime, as children are. This is not a reflection on her daughter, who's such a cutie, judging by Instagram anyway. And the cardigan itself, I don't know if I'll be able to put a picture up, if I'll have to check the copyright things, but it's got a base colour of grey, and then it has like these flashes of rainbow. It's almost like a pleated, imagine a pleated skirt, how you've got the inside bits of the pleat but are a different colour. Does that make sense? I'm probably not making sense here at all. And they were pops of kind of rainbow colours. And this lady has requested a kind of denim blue for the main body of the jumper, and then obviously wants the pops of colours. So I had great fun selecting colours that I thought would go really well. It is a worsted weight cardigan sweater thing, so I am using Stylecraft Special Aran, and I have gone for meadow, lavender, magenta, and I just love how these go together. I think aspen, now that is actually more green, that's coming up quite blue, it's actually more minty green than that, and spice. Perfect for autumn, don't you think? Rather infuriatingly, when I went on to place the order, it said to me that the Aran yarn I wanted, the denim blue, wasn't in stock. So you could sign up and they'd send you an email, and it was. So I signed up, and then 10 minutes later, I got an email from Love Knitting going, great news, it's back in stock. Why don't you come back and do your shopping? So I did. This all arrived. No sign of the denim. It says on the letter that but sometimes if they come from different warehouses, the orders, bits of the orders will arrive separately, so to give it a few days. Now, to be fair, this arrived the very next day, so I've got no complaints there. And that was only, I think that was only yesterday. So yeah, I'll give it a few days and then I'll moan, we'll see. But they're very, very good at Love Knitting. They're good customer service. With that, I also picked up, because you spend so much to get free delivery, I also picked up some new cables for my Knit Picks or Knit Pro or Knitter's Pride in America, Knit Pro here, my interchangeable needles, because I've got quite a lot of whips, and so I need lots of cables so that I can let my whips hang out on those cables and work on other things. So that's that. Oh no, there's one more. I also got, because there just seems to be an influx of babies at the moment, I also picked up James C. Brett's Fairy Cakes double knitting. You get 200 grams, 640 meters, and it's a 4mm or size 6 US hook, 6 hook. And as you can see, it's a gradient again. There's a baby due Christmas time, and we don't know what flavour it is. So I thought something like that would be quite good because it's quite neutral. And also I really like this I call it teddy bear yarn. It's really floofy, do you see? It's so squidgy, so squidgy. I mean, look how solid it is. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, so I thought that would do for that. And there's another little boy due. One ball is one blanket, apparently. I don't know if I'll do a blanket with this. Or maybe I will. Maybe I'll just do another blanket. And it says free pattern. It's got the pattern inside the ball band on the inside. See that? Is that focusing? Got no idea. There we are. Yeah, so I'm kind of tempted to maybe do the blanket, or they've got some patterns to go with this that look really snuggly, like little snuggly dressing gown type things. I think they look really cute. Yeah, and there's another baby due as well, soonish, I think. Again, and that one's a boy. I've got a bit of a thing at the minute. I don't really feel comfortable knitting for babies before they arrive. It's just probably a hang up after everything that's happened, but I'm sure I'll get back to it. But you can see it's basically a very fine kind of string, and then it's got the floof attached to it. Yeah, it is, obviously it's a synthetic material. It's 100% polyester, but I don't care. Sorry, I don't care. It's soft and nice, and yeah, I probably should care more, shouldn't I? I should be a bit more. Maybe I should. It's squeaking. Can you hear that? Yeah, maybe I should. But yeah, honestly, I really don't mind. I think, especially for children's knits, it's fine. I wouldn't necessarily use too much in the way of synthetic for myself now, but that's my personal choice, and you know, as Kristen would say, my own personal brand of crazy. I don't mind. So there we are. So those are my acquisitions from Love Knitting. As I said, it was to get the... Does anyone else do this? Like, you go onto a website to buy something and they say, oh, spend X amount more and you get free postage. And actually the X amount more is way more than the postage would be anyway. So you end up spending way more than you would, but psychologically in your head, you're getting a great deal because you're getting free postage. Does anyone else do that? Yeah. But I figured, you know, I need the cables and there are babies to knit for. So what's the point in buying it later and then having to pay postage again? So I did that. My tea's getting cold remarkably quickly. Okay. Then what? Well, I started my week by going to Yarnporium, as I mentioned in the last podcast. It was kind of a last minute-ish type thing. I only decided a couple of weeks beforehand that I was going to go. Some viewers had asked me, you know, if I was going to be there. Not in the sense of, are you going to be there? But conversationally, are you going to be there? And I thought to myself, well, it's local to me. It's London. It does not take me long. It's a 40-minute drive for me into the centre of London from where I live. So essentially it's local. It's like the next town, next city. And I thought, well, why not? I knew I probably shouldn't buy anything. But I thought I'd go along to meet people and to see my friends. Some of my lovely friends were vending at the Yarnporium this time. Mana, who I've mentioned already, was vending, and Verity, who is truly hooked, was vending. So I was really excited to go and see them. And also to go with some friends that I haven't seen for quite a while and haven't had a chance to hang out with for quite a while for my local knit group. So I was really pleased to do that, and also the chance to catch up with some of my friends, and it's coming again, are you ready? From Perth, because I knew a couple of them were going as well, although I think I found that out after the fact. I'd already decided to go, and then it transpired that loads of people were going. I was like, right, brilliant, I get to go and hang out with them and say hi, and that's lovely. I did run an Insta poll about whether or not I should vlog, and it came back with a resounding yes. I probably should have put, I'm rubbish at this, but should I vlog? I should have put that caveat there, because I am really, really quite shocking when it comes to vlogging. It doesn't feel natural to me. It kind of feels natural sitting here talking to you because I know you're there. Does that make sense? I mean, maybe not in real time, but I know you are there watching. But yeah, filming when you are out and about is a little bit more awkward, because obviously you can't just film everything, because you don't want to get people in there who might not want to be in there, and there's going to be a lot of looking at the floor shots, for example, and you have to set things up. It just didn't feel natural or right to me, so I have not done a proper vlog, but I'm going to try and pop it on the end of this podcast if I can. I'm aware that it's probably going to end up being quite a long one. And I'll probably have to edit out loads of the chatter. Oh well, never mind. This is me. Yeah, so I went to Yarnporium, got there a bit late, but we got there, that's the main thing. And it was really weird. It's in the central hall in Westminster. It was really grand. And it was very muted. It felt almost a bit like a library. Sorry, I'm just going to bring you closer because I keep chilling out and relaxing. Hello. Yeah, it was almost like a library, because the carpets were all plush and soft, and it was quite, there wasn't really, the acoustics weren't really there. Do you know what I mean? It was quite, the whole thing felt quite muted. It was lovely, and it was really spacious as well, because the venue was quite big, so loads of room to walk around between the stalls, which is just perfect. Some of the stalls were very wee, and so actually when you were there it was really hard to actually navigate the stalls themselves. So I think if there was one sort of thing that I would like to see if I went next time, it would be that actually some more of that space that was there for people to walk around between the stalls was actually allowed to be used for the stalls, and maybe just spread that just a teeny weeny bit so we could get there. But it was great. I saw Mana and Verity, hugs were had, yarn was bought, stitch markers were bought, fibre was bought. I bumped into the lovely Corolla of Otherworldly Yarns, who I met, guess where? At Perth. And she came and hung out with some of my knitting pals from my knitting group as well, which was nice, and we had a really good conversation. And we checked out the indie room as well. There was indie maker spotlight room, and that I didn't really understand 100%. I think it's makers rather than dyers and project bag makers. I think it's but there was yarn there as well, so that's what couldn't quite wrap my head around. But to be fair, I was really tired and probably wasn't thinking about it as much as I should have done. There were classes going on as well. I stood within reaching out and touching distance of a sockmatician, which was just bizarre to see him out of my television screen and actually there in real life. Didn't talk to him because he was busy and I was talking to someone else at the time anyway, so I didn't say hello or anything. But it's just a bit strange to see people who you're used to seeing on your television actually, or your laptop or iPhone or phone or whatever it is you're watching on, there in real life. Sort of weird. I mean, obviously they're real people. I'm a real person. I mean, you all know that. But yeah, so caught up with them. I caught up with Ellie and Amy from Skein-Deer and Stranded, which was really nice. Had a bit of a chat. Went and met Katie, who has the Katie Green Bean. No, she has the Green Bean podcast, which is amazing. She was on the Blacker Yarns stand and I bought some from there as well. So I got to meet her, which is nice because we've only chatted online so far. So actually to meet her face to face, to have that opportunity was really lovely. And I didn't have to be too brave about introducing myself. I'm really, really shy. But I mentioned, like Ellie and I were chatting, and I mentioned that I was going to go back over and say hi to her. And she's like, oh, let's go now. And so that was great because I kind of didn't have to do the whole awkward introduction thing. But yeah, she's really lovely. Nice to meet her in the flesh, as it were. And yeah, just a really lovely time was had. And we headed back. We left about 3 o'clock and the time really went quickly. When we walked in, I didn't imagine, especially with none of us really planning to buy anything, that we'd be there that long, but it was actually a really lovely social event and the stands were beautiful and the yarn was beautiful and the fibre was beautiful and everything. It was just all the fibrey fluffy love. Shall I show you what I bought? I was not going to buy anything. This is me not buying anything. I did well, didn't I? So, let's start. I'm just going to pull it out. It's not in order. It's just as it is. I have got a bit of a thing for Harry Potter, as people who know me will know. The audiobooks is something that I've really enjoyed listening to with my husband. He will play with his girlfriend, the PlayStation, and I will be crafting. So we're following our own individual pursuits, but purely by accident we ended up listening to the audiobooks together, and it became our thing that we would listen to audiobooks while doing our own individual pursuits as well. It's really companionable. It's nice. It's a nice way to share time but also do what we want as well, as I'm not a big gamer. I played Crash Bandicoot when I was younger. I was quite good at that one. I quite like the Time Warp one. That was fun. And I was kind of obsessed with completing every level to 100%. Not that I ever did, but yeah. So it happened sometime that I was doing my cross stitch in the front room, which was south facing, so had all the light. But our lounge in that house, we'd made the back room the lounge because we were right on the road and there was just too much noise. I mean, there's a little bit of car traffic when I film the podcast here, isn't there? But this was constant, and there were big lorries going past as well. So yeah, but the sunshine, the good cross stitching light, was in the front room. So I sat in there and I plugged in my sound bar and I just found on YouTube, kind of didn't realise this wasn't technically legal. Okay, when I did, we stopped and we downloaded Audible and did it all properly. I just didn't think about it. Now I think about it now, I think, well, Gemma, you're an idiot. Of how can that possibly, you don't get anything for free that you would normally have to pay for. That's mad. Engage your brain, woman. I didn't engage my brain. So I was listening to the podcast while doing the cross stitch, and then the next morning my husband said, oh, should we do that again? I was like, do what again? What did we do? They said, oh, put the audiobook on. Turns out he'd been listening in. And that was a few years ago, and we are now probably on our 3rd or 4th cycle through the Harry Potter audiobooks read by Stephen Fry. I could listen to that man read me stories until the end of time quite happily. But yeah, Harry Potter's become kind of a thing, and each Christmas we watch all 7 Harry Potter films. On the 15th of October, which is Wave of Light Day, we lit Lara's candle. We didn't just want to sit there in silence. We wanted to do something that we enjoyed and that maybe reminded us of her and reminded us of our family, so we started watching Harry Potter. Anyway, all that to say, I went over to Blacker Yarns with the intention of introducing myself to Katie, and I didn't. I chickened out, and then she wandered off the stall to have a tea break or something, because I am a giant, shy, wussy wimp. But I thought if I'm going to get anything at Yarnporium, I want to get something for projects that I already have in my queue. And Ellie Skandir, as I've mentioned, her sock collection is now available to download to buy the individual sock patterns, or you can still buy the collection. It's not part of a club. I don't know if it was part of a club originally, I'm not sure. Either way, it doesn't matter, because if it was, that's done. And you can now buy the patterns from Ravelry. I've linked to her Ravelry shop below. And I bought what I now know, because I've learnt the name of it, were the Nelly socks. So Ellie's Nelly socks, which I just love saying, Ellie's Nelly. And she had yarns recommended, but I think one of them was Raumer, and I don't know enough about those yarns to know how much wool content there needs to be, how toothy it needs to be for the colour work to work, because colour work, as far as I understand it, and do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but people who are new to colour work, you can listen to what I say, and then someone who knows more will correct me down in the comments below. So just go down there and check if whatever nonsense I'm spouting is actually accurate. The difference between wool and something that's more woolly and something that's perhaps superwash is coated, and it kind of blends the fibres down into sort of one more smooth thing. I kind of would like to have a graphic here if I can. I'll try and find one. And colourwork kind of relies on, I'll try and do it with my fingers, it's not working. Colourwork kind of relies on those two colours, those kind of sticky bits, to kind of blend together a little bit and hold each other together. But I'm very new to colourwork and I didn't know enough about it. I went over to Blacker Yarns and I showed the pattern to the lady on the stand, and I said, what would you recommend? And she pointed to the Tamar DK, because it's DK weight yarn. And this is actually a much more sort of burgundy red, but it's coming up quite red on here. And I picked up these 2 skeins, and you can see where I'm going with this, can't you, Potterheads? Gryffindor socks, yes! So Ellie's Nelly socks are going to be done in Gryffindor colours for me, and I'm going to love them. Now this yarn is gorgeous, but my God, it's the most expensive pair of socks I ever will have owned. Whether or not I ever wear them, I do not know. It is the Luster Blend, Blacker Yarns Luster Blend. There's their label with their website. It's one I've heard a lot about and I've always kind of wanted to try, but never got round to. It is the Camel shade. Now to me that's gold. It's worsted spun, made in the UK, Tamar Luster Blend. I must admit I don't understand an awful lot about it. But yeah, made in the UK by the Natural Fibre Company, Launceston, Cornwall. Oh, I'm lucky I got that in the house then. I can't let Alan know that it's from Cornwall. Did you know there's a rivalry between Devon and Cornwall? I like Cornwall. I would love to go and visit on holiday, but apparently we're not allowed. Anywho, so yeah, those 2. And this is going to be the most expensive pair of socks I've ever owned, because these were, I think, $16.50 a skein each. Yeah, this coming from the girl who has such small feet, I can get a pair of socks for me out of a 50-gram ball of Serdar Country Style for the grand total of £2.50. I'm really excited about these socks. I'm going to love knitting them. I'm actually going to cast them on in the spring once I've cleared things off my needles. Once I've cleared things off my needles, because I will. And then I can just devote myself, because I have a plan. I have an idea. There are lots of Harry Potter-esque things out there. Hermione's everyday socks. There's a Ginny's cardigan that's gorgeous. There is a certain jumper that evokes motifs which are reminiscent of magic. Am I saying that vaguely enough? I really, really, really want this jumper. I'm so desperate to cast it on. So anyway, I've come up with this idea, right, that I want to try and do. I want to have a Harry Potter themed year next year. I would like to do as many Harry Potter themed makes as I can. I'm not going to do that as a cowl because I know people have done it before and people are probably sick to the back teeth of Harry Potter. I'm sure you are. People who watch podcasts and you know, that's absolutely fine. I don't want to oversaturate you with Harry Potter. You can only take so much magic, I suppose. That sounds like I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. I know what it's like. I was thinking maybe of doing a fan club theme knit along perhaps in the spring. I've also been asked to do a lace along. So I don't know. Well, I mean, obviously we're a few weeks away from that yet, about a whole 7 weeks away from the new year. Isn't that crazy? So I'm having a think about it. What do you think? What would you be interested in doing? Maybe let me know below. My Gryffindor Ellie Nelly socks. Yay! Sorry about all the jumping around. Someone from the hospital called while I was recording, and so I had to go and obviously talk to them because that was quite important. You have to excuse the lipstick that's now appearing on my teacup. Well, I said this would be a long one, didn't I? So yeah. And tea is stone cold, but now I understand why. Because I've been talking so long. I went to Verity's stand, Verity of Truly Hooked, with the intention of picking up another skein of the light grey, which came to me originally as Patronus in the Harry Potter fan club box. See a theme here, guys, see a theme. And it was the colourway that I used for the sample socks for the second drawdown, Verity's second sock pattern book. And the Lara socks were the socks that she named after my daughter, and they are the ones that she is wearing that are photographed in the book, which is just such an honour. But yeah, I wanted a replacement skein because originally this skein had been destined for the Waiting for Rain shawl, which I talked about in Dream Knitting last time. And yeah, it's I'm now thinking I would quite like to knit myself a pair of Lara socks in the original grey that I knit those ones in for the book. So yeah, there it is, light grey. We got talking, and talking is always dangerous because it gives me time to look. But we had a great catch up. It was really lovely. And then I just happened to glance down and I happened to see, how pretty is that? This is Kraken. It's on her lace singles, 100% extra fine merino, 800 meters per 100 grams, and it just says small needles recommended, so that's fine. And as you can see, it's single ply, so you've got a little bit of a kink to it, which is super cool. 800 meters, that's loads, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's called Kraken, which I think is so fitting. I have seen Kraken knit up in 4-ply in a sock base. But I'm really excited by this. And I said to her, what will I make with it? You know, what's it enough to do? And she said, well, it's 800 meters. That's quite a lot. You could make yourself a nice thin summer tea in that. You would get a top out of this. I'm like, that's amazing. So yeah, I'm really chuffed with this. I actually think I know what I want to make with it, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, I ended up seeing on there one of her new designs. She's working on a new knitting pattern book of clothes, of garments this time, and I am so excited by this sweater. You know the one I'm talking about. It's got lightning bolts, it's got Patronuses, it's got glasses, it's got little golden balls with wings. Yeah, it is that themed sweater. I am desperate to cast it on. I cannot wait for her to release the pattern. Obviously I'm going to have to wait a while because it's for a new book, but you know, when that happens, and it's beautiful. It's even better in the flesh, and it is not a Christmas jumper. There you are. Honestly, it's obviously not a Christmas jumper. I can't believe people were thinking it was a Christmas jumper. That's madness. So not a Christmas jumper, but it's beautiful and it has to be done. And quite honestly, it is fighting quite hard. It's like a game of top trumps at the moment. At least I think it is. I've never played top trumps, so I might be getting this cultural reference completely wrong. Apologies if I am, but it is vying and competing with anything Catiganish or cat sweatery or ghosty catty that Mana is designing at the moment. I really want to do the cardigan, and I also want to knit the ghosty cat's jumper, and I would like to knit the cat sweater as well, peaky cat sweater, whatever she's going to call it. I don't know the name of that one, so I'm completely misappropriating it and making names up. So those are kind of buffeting up against each other, and I'm really not sure which one will get cast on first. I might do both of them at the same time, who knows. So yeah, those are going to happen. And actually seeing catigans in the wild is getting me into a spot of bother. I was drawn to looking at a catigan on Cat and Sparrow's stand, actually, more rustling. And I went over and was admiring the catigan, and then realised that actually I'm just totally admiring something on someone's store and I really need to have a look around. And I asked her about her spinning because she was using a Turkish drop spindle. She gave me a go, taught me a new technique, which I'm really keen to try. And so I did the decent thing, because of course it would have been rude not to, right? And bought some fibre from her, and I bought this. Isn't it moody and delicious? This is gorgeous. It's purples, it's blues, it's greys. It's called Iridescence. It reminds me of storm clouds in paintings, and it's just beautiful. It's 100% Polworth. It was an absolute steal at £9.50 for 100 grams. I've got no idea how much it will do. It is so soft. It's got a really good staple length. There you go. It's quite long there, you can see. Yeah, it's just going to be gorgeous. Cat and Sparrow, there we are, hand-dyed fibre. Looking forward to spinning with that. And so then I went to the scene of the crime and to the woman responsible herself. I went to see my lovely friend Mana on her stand, because she had been teasing us, hadn't she, on Instagram, if you follow her, with some of the stitch markers she was going to have at the Yarnporium. Sinister? Us? So I'd seen these, and they are, and I've told her this, absolutely hideous, and I love them. Are you ready for this? I don't know if you will be. Don't know why it doesn't want to focus. There's something wrong with my autofocus today. Let's press that. There, I'd pressed the button that I turned autofocus off. That was the problem. There we are. Aren't they hideous? I love them to bits. I absolutely love them. So I got 4 of these gorgeous cats in teacups, and it comes rather usefully held together with a light bulb stitch marker, so that's always helpful, and a sweet little tin to put them in. Really, really thrilled. She's going to have more at, I think she said, is she doing festival or Nottingham? She's doing some more shows coming up anyway, and she's going to have more there, so definitely go and check her out, or hopefully you will have checked her out by this point, because it's well, by the time you're watching this, it'll all be up, it'll all be over, won't it? So those are my purchases from Yarnporium. I was intending to get yarn for Ellie's Nelly socks. Wasn't necessarily intending to spend quite that much on it. I was intending to get the Teacup Kitty Progress Keepers from Mana, and I was intending to pick up Patronus. So all in all, I didn't do too badly for my I really shouldn't have bought this purchases, should I? I mean, I do still feel a bit sick at how much I spent on Blacker yarns, but sorry, I'm off the camera there. I do still feel a bit sick about how much I spent on Blacker yarns, but the yarn is so gorgeous, and yeah. And actually that kind of brings me almost to the last bit that I want to share with you, which is news, because there is news. Yes, there is. Before I do that, I'm going to carry on with the Harry Potter theme. I haven't got any sewing to show you, but I do have some extra bits and bobs here. And as I said, going to Yarnporium was wonderful. Got to see some lovely friends, had a really lovely time. went home, and I'll tell you about what happened next a bit later. But I have Harry Potter fabric. There's Ron, Harry and Hermione. It's repeating, so obviously the bag has been quite small. And yeah, these are going to be the theme project bags that I teased you about a few weeks ago. They are obviously not yet project bags. Hufflepuff, anyone? Perhaps you're a Ravenclaw? Kind of reminds me of like football bedspreads. Do you know what I mean? For football teams. Or I suppose if you're in America, soccer teams, it's football. Get it right. Gryffindor. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without Slytherin. And this lovely one as well there. I love it. So yeah, these were the project bags that I was teasing you about the other week. Sorry, let's sit in the right place. I fully intended to get these done, and it didn't happen. And I think I said at the beginning of the podcast, I can't remember because it's so long ago now, that it's been a real learning curve for me, trying to run a business when I've not been in the best place mentally anyway because of my situation, but also going back to work, and I've still got things going on in the background with regards to my care and hospitals and things like that. So it's really been very full on, and I am enjoying it. I am enjoying running the business. I am loving the opportunities it's providing me with. I am just so blessed with the people that I have met in the Yarny world, and I love looking in the Ravelry group and seeing what everyone's up to, and having conversations and seeing things on Instagram and seeing what you're all up to. It's just so lovely to be a part of this community and to get to know you lovely viewers and what you're up to as well. And I know I say this all the time, and I'm running the risk of it sounding insincere now because I'm saying it so much, but I promise you it's not. I am blown away and thrilled and honoured and delighted that you want to come and spend some of your time with me each week. And you never know how much time you're going to have to spend either, do you? Could be 40 minutes, could be 140 minutes, who knows? I don't think it's been that long ever, has it? 140 minutes, that'd be like 2 hours 20. I don't think I've been quite that bad yet. I mean, if ever I get to Rhinebeck, then, ooh, that could be a problem. Yeah, so, and it's amazing, but it is really a learning curve. I did toy with the idea of not saying things out loud. You know, maybe I shouldn't say things, maybe I shouldn't make plans, and then people won't know if I don't make it. But the thing is, it's exciting, and I want to share my plans, and I want to share with you where I'm going with this. And I'm so pleased to have so many of you on this journey with me, following me with this. And I don't know, it's part of who I am. I get excited about things, I make plans, and sometimes they don't always come through straight away. And I'm trying to let go of my perfectionism there and ease off on the pressure on myself a little bit. And that in mind, I'm easing off on the pressure on my Christmas knits and on the on the Crack Those Whips cowl. I am really enjoying seeing what everyone else is working on, but I am finding myself reaching for new projects all the time and wanting to do different things all the time and not wanting to do the whips that I've actually got. And it's not because I'm not enjoying the whips, it's because it's becoming an obligation. And I realise that I need to kind of step back from it a bit and actually just make sure that I'm enjoying my crafting time. I'm also trying to juggle working with making for the business, and the challenge there has been that I've been working full time. It's exhausting working in a classroom. It really is. And there's planning and marking, and I knew this because I've done it for 11 years. But to suddenly be catapulted back into it again full time was a bit of a shock to the system when I hadn't been in the classroom for nearly 18 months. It's been great. There've been challenges, but I've been well supported. I can't complain there. It's been as good as it could possibly be. But I've learnt that actually that's not where my heart lies anymore. It's also not where I need to be in terms of my mental health and my family and what's right for me. but also it's so exhausting that actually when I got home in the evenings, I wasn't working or crafting. I just had nothing left to give. So then half term came, which was 2 weeks, and that's fairly productive. You know, I got a couple of FOs done, but all these grand plans I had for things I was going to get cracking for the project bag, they just didn't come to fruition. And I figured I can do one of two things about this. I can either remind myself, as I remind my students in the classroom when they get frustrated that they can't do something, or they don't achieve what they set out to achieve, or what they think they should be able to. I said, well, you know what, you're in school, you're here for a reason. If you knew it all already, you wouldn't need to be here. We'd sit your GCSEs tomorrow and off you pop. You know, some of you, I wouldn't miss. No, I'm joking. Actually, I kind of cause myself problems here. I kind of enjoy the challenging ones, the ones with a bit more like pizzazz, but yeah. Glutton for punishment, I suppose. I'm smiling because I'm thinking of some of the children that I've taught in the past, and it's been such an honour to work with these young people. Young people are great. They are really great. We can learn a lot from them. I wouldn't tell that to them because they think they know it all already, and that's insufferable. You try teaching them something when they've decided, no, you're wrong. It's like banging your head against a brick wall sometimes. So definitely don't tell them we can learn from them. But I think we can. I think there's lots we can learn from children. Sorry, I'm going on a soppy tangent here. I'm going off, just getting misty-eyed thinking about all the children she's taught over the years. I've tried to think about how many children I've taught, and each year I teach in the region of, depending how many classes I've got, come into contact with and teach for 1, 2 or more hours a week. Anywhere between 250 and 300, 400 sometimes children, depending what I'm doing. And so over 11 years, that's anywhere between 2,500 and 4,000 children I've taught. If my maths is right. Might be wrong. It's a lot. It's a lot of children I've taught. And actually, of course, I don't remember every single one of them. I think I can barely remember my own name half the time, or words that I'm after. But I remember a lot of them. And there have been a lot of really special moments that I've been so pleased to be a part of. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, getting things done. So yeah, I've decided to kind of give myself a pep talk like I give the students a pep talk. I'm learning. I'm not going to know it all yet. I'm not going to have it all sorted yet. I mean, how many of us have got to adulthood, right? So we were young and we're looking at people who are adults around us and thinking, do you know what? They've got their stuff together. They know where it's at. And then you become an adult yourself and you realise actually nobody has, and everybody's faking it. No one has their stuff together. No one. It's all an act. It's all an act. Show me the person that genuinely has it together, and I don't know. I'll eat my yarn. And I've talked about this before. Social media can put a real pressure on things as well, especially with this idea of like the Instagram perfect photographs and perfectly edited podcasts. You know that I have so many technical issues. I think it's because I'm at the helm, to be honest with you, not just because of the equipment. And there can be a lot that can become sticks to beat yourself with. So I've decided to kind of step back and look at my mentality a bit and look at all the things that I am planning to do and I'm excited by as things to be excited about, not to become a stick to beat myself with, something to measure myself up against if I don't quite make something. Because sometimes things happen that are out of our control, I mean, I was going to sew the Harry Potter bags last night and this afternoon before podcasting so that I had some sewing to show you, and it just hasn't happened, and I couldn't help that. I had to go to the hospital. I had an upsetting phone call from the doctors. Sometimes things happen and you just need to take a step back, and so I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm not saying I'm taking a step back from the project bag. I'm saying I'm not going to try and stress too much about doing all the things. I mean, I want to do all the things and I'm excited about all the things, but yeah, this is probably really, what did I call it earlier? Mambled rumblings or something like that. I got it back to front, didn't I? What was it I said? No idea, too long ago. Anyway, so yeah, so I started thinking a bit more sort of evaluatively about that. I have bought myself, I don't know if I showed this to you before, I've bought myself a new bullet journal with the intention of organising myself. The problem with that is I have to be organised enough to have time in which to organise myself. Bit of a vicious cycle there. And also I've got first page blank paper phobia, that kind of pressure of putting that first pen mark on a blank page. There's nothing so intimidating as a blank sheet of paper. Trust me, I'm an English teacher, I know. Trying to get children to start writing it's hard. It's really hard. Because there, you've got all the possibilities. There, everything's fine. There, nothing's gone wrong. You put that pen to paper and you put the wrong mark in the wrong place, and suddenly it's blemished, it's imperfect, and so you've got to be a bit kinder to yourself with that sort of thing. But yeah, so I've got that, and I am planning to sort of sit down, and again, I bought this weeks ago to try and organise myself, and I haven't been organised enough to have the time to organise myself. But yeah, and I've been thinking about my makes and the things I want to do, and trying to prioritise things. And I think I'm getting things straight in my head now. I'm not pressuring myself to make all the Christmas gifts that I'd planned to make, because actually what we are getting into now is not that I'm making them with love and joy, but I'm making them under pressure and feeling obliged, and that's not how gift makes. I don't think that's not how they should come about. So whether or not I just wrap skeins of yarn with an IOU on what I'm going to make, and I make them during the year, whether I just do ordinary Christmas shopping this year and just make them and gift them just willy-nilly throughout the year, that could be fun. Because actually the thing that really got me thinking about this was on Instagram. It's that time of year again. There's this hashtag going around called Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, or Get Your Wishes Granted. And the idea is that you grant someone's wish and then you ask someone to grant a wish for you. And I saw it last year. I didn't understand enough about it. I was very new to Instagram. To be fair, I still don't understand how half this stuff works. But I saw someone wishing, and I really liked it, because it was a wish that what this person wished was that people who saw her post would go onto Ravelry, find someone at random and gift them a pattern from their wish list. And I thought, you know what, that's really, really lovely. What a lovely way to spread the love. And so I do not understand enough about Ravelry to find random people. I didn't want to end up just finding the same people everyone else was finding. But the Project Bag group, at the point I did this, it had 32 members. That's a full class. Quite happy with that. Not quite at the point of needing to bring an extra table in yet. So we can still cope. But if you want to join, it'd be great to have you. And that organises itself into columns of 8. So I sort of went, and picked 4 people, like one from each column at random with my eyes shut. And then I went into that person's wish list and I granted them a pattern. I gifted them a pattern, and I gifted 4 patterns in all. The only one I got into a bit of a pickle with was, I can't remember which column it was, but one of them, the Ravelry user didn't actually have a wish list. There wasn't a way to gift them anything, and I didn't understand. Apparently you can just give people patterns randomly, can't you? They don't have to be on their wish list. But I thought, well, I don't know what this person would like, and I don't understand how. So I didn't. So I picked another person for that one. And yeah, it was lovely. It was such a nice feeling. It was really great to be nosy and go and look through your wish lists and see, the 4 people that I looked at and see what you want to make. And I tried to pick something, I had a set budget in mind, but I tried to pick something near the top of your queues if you had them, or, something that rather selfishly I thought I'd like to see you knit up. I want you to show me what you make with them, please, when you make them. And I've had some really, really lovely messages on Ravelry back thanking me, and I'm really, really pleased to have been able to thank you guys a little bit, some of you, for being a part of this and joining the group and coming and having a chat with me. That's really, really lovely. So that person was great. And then Ellen decided her wish was going to be for people to visit, I can't pronounce this, podcast. It's not called the I Can't Pronounce This. I'm saying I Can't Pronounce It. This is what it's called, by Kirsty. To go and watch that and subscribe. And Tipsy Knits podcast, which is the audio podcast I've talked about before, and mine. So if you have come to me at Ellen's recommendation, welcome to the madhouse. I hope that you have found my ramblings not too bad for you this time. It's certainly not a put together coherent show. I don't know if I ever quite managed that, but I certainly get a little bit closer sometimes. And that was really lovely, and I've really enjoyed granting that. And actually the feeling of just that little lift that gives you to grant someone else's wish, I thought that's what I need to feel about my gift knits for Christmas and my gift giving. And I realised that actually I was getting it all wrong. It was becoming obligation knitting. It wasn't going to be full of all the love and just positive vibes that I wanted to knit into my gifts. So I've eased off with that. Oh, I've got more fabric to show you. I'll show you that quickly because we'll take a break from the deep and heavy stuff. And then hopefully I'll make you chuckle again. Oh, do you want to see the receipt? How amazing are these? These are, I'm going to try and do this. It's tweed fabric. No, that's still coming up quite blown out. But again, I don't know what it's going to do on camera, on the actual screen. These fabrics, I have been asked by someone, I've been commissioned to make a very special project bag. I'm not going to say anything more about it yet, other than these are the fabrics I'm going to use. I had great fun going to pick them out. And you can see the kind of pink and red herringbone tweed there. Gorgeous, absolutely love them. It's actually more purpley than that, but I don't know what it's going to come up like there. So that is also going to happen. Let's put this back on because it's pitch black outside now. You noticed it's getting dark so early these days. I think some people have had snow this week, haven't they? It's actually been quite mild here. It was raining today and it was a bit miserable. Yeah, so when I got back from Yarnporium, I tried to put my stash enhancements away. And I couldn't put them away because I've run out of room. And so I said at the beginning of the week on Instagram, I said, that's it, yarn diet's happening. And then the very next morning, Hutch released her Candygram, which I don't understand what that is really. I don't understand what it stands for. But I think it's like a themed box each month. Hutch released hers and it is the Mighty Boosh. And when it's the Boosh, you got to get the Boosh, right? So of course I bought it and then went, whoops. I remembered afterwards. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm actually meant to be on a yarn diet and I've just failed at the first hurdle. And I'm probably going to fail tonight because Stranded is having their 3rd birthday update in about half an hour. And so if I'm still talking in half an hour, which I sincerely hope I'm not, because it means I've talked for blooming hours and you've probably all fallen asleep in your armchairs, just bored to death by my ramblings. Yeah, I'm planning on buying something from there as well. That she's got some one-of-a-kind. She's such a temptress. She's such a tease, showing these one-of-a-kind paint box colourways that she's come up with, which aren't going to be repeated. And of course they're stunning. And of course I need one. Need one. So yeah. But I then was thinking to myself about this sense of overwhelm and why I'm not completing whips, and I keep reaching for new things. And I think one of the other things is I've got so much yarn now that I really probably shouldn't have any more. Or, you know, am I enjoying having these yarns in stash, or are they starting to make me feel a little bit guilty? And I just, out of curiosity, had a whiz round just downstairs in the dining room and counted up the yarn I could find in grams, in lots of 100 grams. Just downstairs, just the bits I could immediately see, I came up with 10 kilograms. And I know people who watched when I was talking about Stash Dash know that I have trouble working out what kilo anythings are, as I realised that kilometres were not hundreds of metres but thousands of metres. No, I genuinely have 10 kilograms, immediately obvious, in downstairs, which equates to 22.5 pounds, which is 1.5 stone of yarn. I have 1.5 stone to lose weight wise to get me into the healthy of the mid-weight range. I have to lose in weight off me physically what I have in a few boxes of yarn. That's kind of blown my mind a little bit. And then having done that and worked out the conversion to pounds, because I'm a stones and pounds girl, not really. I don't really do kilograms, kilometers, as you can tell with the stash dash debacle. Like, hang on, I'm knitting 15,000 yards, 15,000 meters. What? What have I let myself in for? And failed, of course. I think I did 4,000 in the end. I was quite proud of that. I thought that was quite respectable. Then I found another box of vintage yarn that was hiding under some fabric. I was like, oh God. So yeah, and that's not counting what's upstairs, under my bed, under the bed in the back bedroom, or any of that. So I am going on, after tonight, the most epic of yarn diets. I know I've got yarn coming to me. I know I've got the Candygram coming. I know I've got the weekend box coming, which I'm going to carry on doing because I love Verity. I think it's an amazing thing to have the weekend thing, and I love the idea of a quick knit. But I am going to carry on doing that. But other than that, weekend box, I'm going to be on a yarn diet now. I think I'm going to be on a yarn diet until I have used up, until I've lost that 1.5 stone. Now, this will work one of two ways. Either I'll have lost or used, 1.5 stone worth of yarn, or I'll have physically lost from me the 1.5 stone that takes me to my middle of my healthy range. At that point, I'm celebrating and buying all the yarn to make all the things. So we'll see which one happens first. It could be really good motivation for me to finish getting back to being healthy and fit. And I'm not doing this just before anyone starts with well-meaning concern about, please don't obsess over weight. I've been there before where I have been unhealthily obsessed, and actually I didn't have an eating disorder. I'm not saying that, but I certainly wasn't healthy about it. I'm not going back there. It's about being healthy for me and for the possibility of Lara being a big sister one day. So it's not all about the scales. I'm not obsessed about becoming a certain size. I want to be healthy. Officially, to get me to the mid-range that the NHS views as healthy, I think I've got 1.5 stone left to go. It might not be quite that much, actually. I've lost track a bit of where I am because, as I said, it's not all about getting on the sad step for me. But yeah, so one of those things two things will happen. Maybe the desire to buy yarn will mean that I push on and become a bit healthier a bit quicker. Who knows? So yeah, those are my plans. Those are my random ramblings. What else happened this week? So I went to knitting on Wednesday, knit and natter, and the traffic was so bad, and I had such a shocking day at school, and not that the children are bad or anything like that. It was just so much to get through before I had my first 2 days off. Like, you have to get everything to a certain point for the other teacher that's taking over, and that in itself brought challenges that I'm prepared for now. That'll be fine next time. And the traffic was that bad that I had to abandon my car in a car park and then walk the rest of the way, whereas I'd planned to drive home and then walk the whole way into town and back to get the miles in for Lara's legacy. Abandoned the car, walked back to my friend's house, walked in, didn't have any knitting. Obviously my other friend came through with some knitting for me, and actually this caused much hilarity because I'd bought Crochet magazine. This is Toft. You might know Toft, I think, is Edward's Menagerie. I'm pretty certain is Edward's Menagerie. That could be completely wrong. I could be lying to you. But yeah, I thought, oh no, Ed's. Definitely Edward's Menagerie then, because it's Ed's Birds Club there, look. Look at him. Look at his legs. I love that. And his knobbly knees. I'm digressing. This caused some hilarity. I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to show you this. Make of it what you will. What I will say is when it comes to crochet, people are rude. Definitely. Suffice to say, having had a conversation about this cushion, I now will not be making it. I have been put off. Yeah, and then Thursday I took the day off. I went to knitting, went to Yarns of Anarchy, which is organised by the lovely Laura, and I met up with my wonderful friend Mana. We went together to this knit day, and you've probably seen on Instagram, Mana ended up doing an impromptu steeking workshop, like tutorial demonstration. So she knit this teeny tiny swatch and showed us how to steek, because everyone's like, oh no, steeking, because we're talking about the cat again, and some people are like, oh, you're the cat lady. Brilliant. But yeah, she's the cat lady. The one with the cats, the sinister cats. Yeah, so it was really nice to hang out and chat with her and chat with some of my other yarny friends that I've been going to knit groups with for the last couple of years. It was only my second time at Yarns of Anarchy, and I've been meaning to go for, well, since it started, but I wasn't in the position to, and then I was working. So, but I think I'm going to go each Thursday morning now because it's really good fun. But yeah, so she ended up doing an impromptu demonstration. I think most people are kind of coming around to the idea of steeking now. I definitely am. I've seen her do it twice now. Have I seen her do it twice? No, I've seen Verity do it live. Mana's talked to me about it, and I've seen her do it. So I trust her. She's my friend. If she says it's not that scary, then it can't be that scary. Having said that, I also trust my husband, and he told me that jumping off the Tarzan swing at Go Ape wasn't that scary. Lies. And then from there, I went down to Essex, and in the evening, I joined my family because they set up a Knit and Natter group 6 years ago now in our hometown, and I sometimes go back and see the lovely knitting ladies there. And yeah, we had a pleasant evening knitting and eating my auntie's delicious cake. She made an orange drizzle cake, and she had homemade mince pies, which were warmed, and so I drank coffee and did that, and it was lovely. And last weekend I went to see Joe Lycett at the theatre, which was really funny. It was our first proper evening out. We really enjoyed ourselves. Laughed, proper belly laughs. I mean, I'd had some proper belly laughs at some knitting things that I might have mentioned that happened in September. Anyway, but yeah, it was a really lovely evening out. My wonderful neighbour took us, and it was just brilliant. I highly recommend it. I mean, some bits were a bit gratuitously rude, and I didn't really appreciate that myself. It's not my cup of tea. I think the support act, I think, appealed more to the men in the room than the feminine sensitivities. I mean, I could see why he was funny. He just wasn't my cup of tea. But Joe Lycett was a riot, an absolute riot, yeah, that's it really. As I said, I treated myself to Thursday off because I'd been so tired, and then life happened in the evening, which meant obviously a hospital trip today. I'm okay. It's nothing dramatic. I'm not going to talk about it here. I'm okay. Don't worry is the key thing. Just, come back and have crafty chats with me and everything will be fine. Yeah, and so what happened this morning? Oh, this morning I had my crochet class, my second crochet class, and they are doing brilliantly. We had a new person join and she fit right in, by which I mean she wasn't terrified by all the rudeness and silliness and immaturity of my ladies. Oh, I laughed a lot. It's a real tonic. I feel so excited to get up in the mornings when I know I'm teaching one of my craft classes. I just bounce out of bed. It's great. I wasn't too bouncy this morning because I was up till 3:30, but I was bouncing in my heart. And then, yeah, this weekend, going to squish baby Plum for the first time. He's a month old now, probably over a month old, and going to give him his blankets and squish him and hand him back when it's time for his nappy to be changed or if he screams. And Sunday, I'll be teaching my beginner's knitting course again, with my intermediates joining me for their supported knit and natter, which is just lovely. And then before I know it, it'll be Monday, and I'll have got nothing done that I'd intended to do. But the good news about that is it means very shortly after that, it will be time to podcast and talk to you guys again. Do please join the Ravelry group and let me know what you're up to. It's been lovely to have you here with me tonight, and I will see you very soon for another crafty chat. Take care. Bye.